Hi guys, George here from Mallorca. Some of you know me, or probably most of you on this call have heard of me, or maybe you don't. But anyways, I'm today, right now, Chris and Lucinda are on the way back to South Africa. We were together in Johannesburg in August. Some of you guys were at that event, which was amazing. And then we met again just now in Dallas, Texas. They stayed in America. Sandy, who's on this call, was in Dallas. And then Sandy and some other people came up to Marrakesh for the Marrakesh incentive trip. So even though this is a Q&A call, and I love questions, and anybody who knows me knows I love questions, I also want to talk about this trip. Why? Why do I want to talk about this trip? Because really, building LifeWave, when you learn about the power of events, those of you who were at Chris's first event, Chris's second event in Johannesburg, those of you who are doing weekly events in your areas, you see the power of events for helping to build your LifeWave organization, and to when you get to know people who are maybe not directly in your organization, but on other teams. So I would love, number one, I would like to encourage everybody to really do as much as you can to get to the event in Dubrovnik, which is going to be in May. And we've already, we've had 4 weeks of those points growing, and we have till, I think it's the 23rd of February. So plenty of time to really take advantage of this. Now, I'm going to ask Sandy, who was there, because I'm babbling at the moment. Sandy, why don't you tell us a little bit about how it was, number one, how it was to meet with each other over 3 different countries and 3 different at 3 different events, and number 2, how the events have affected your LifeWave and how you see your LifeWave growing. And you can share specific details about each event if you care to.
Okay, firstly, it looks like you're pretty chilly, as are we, compared to what that was at 35 degrees.
Yeah. Yeah.
But it does, the start where we first went, which wasn't part of the incentive, but it was well worth it, George. So thank you very much that we did that. But meeting you, the first time here in Joburg, then in America, and now again. I mean, we met, is it 3 years ago, over Zoom, basically.
Yeah.
And I knew then that I know, like, and trust you based on what had happened. But that relationship has built more and more. It's more like a family, you and us. And everything's the same way. It really, really is. And I can chat to you about anything. And it was, I really can. Well, you know, we joked with each other. There were so many.
Yeah. Can mess with you at any time. So,
totally,
yeah.
Totally. I can't remember what the second point is. I was
so look,
2 nights ago.
Dallas. So what did Dallas do for you in terms of your LifeWave? Because this was your first
yes.
corporate event. And then what did the incentive trip do for you? Because there was more time to meet members of other teams. And how have those individual events, which were quite different events, affected your view of the future and what we're doing here?
Okay, so Dallas, firstly, I'm delighted Bridget was with us there. And, you know, I had complete faith in David and the company and the technology, but it's just so much bigger. And, you know, I realized that whatever is happening, and I heard David on Wednesday night again, what is the effect on the brand partners? Everything he does, what's the effect on us? And everything he's doing, I don't think that brain ever stops, is how can it help us? It really, and he's so humble. And, you know, I've always seen the company as professional. And I know for a fact, Bridget will agree with me, that was beyond professional. Every single bit of that event in Dallas was. So for me, I mean, we came out of that, and the next day, Bridget, Eric, and I, and Bridget's husband, we all booked for October next year. Immediately, we've got our tickets, and now we're doing accommodation, and I was in touch with you about that as well, and Bridget's looking for accommodation. But we would like to take a team of people with us. South Africa, we need to fill a plane and go. That's what I'd love to see. And the same thing goes with this incentive trip. So there was very little time to talk to people in America, and that was corporate. This time was like a holiday. There was a bit of business, remember the last morning. And we were so spoiled. And again, it was beyond professional. What Tina and Alexandre and Claudia have done, I mean, nothing can be faulted. It was just, we felt
Yeah,
like
they could have made it longer.
They could have made it longer. That's the thing. And for me, it was a complete break. And, you know, I've been working flat out since I started, 7 days a week, just because that's me. And if the team needs help, that's what I do. As I know, probably everyone on the score is like that. And we had Liesel and her husband, and of course, Eric was with me at both events, to Croatia. We have to take many, many, many South Africans and many of my personal team. You know, when I look at the Polish team, I mean, that was a big team there. And the Romanian team. And it was so good meeting the different people and just finding out how they work. And I'll never forget the one guy, is his name? I think it's Alex or Andre from Poland. He said something very important. And he said exactly what the merits teach. You work with X39. You keep it extra simple. And you work with X39. And his team, he and I actively started within 2 weeks of each other. He was about 2 weeks ahead of me. And if I look at his team size and mine, I'm sitting at 4,600. He's sitting at 7,000. But he works simply. He says, why try and be a doctor? And that meant a lot to me. And of course, we start people on X39. But many people try and make it too involved. And David says, X39. And sure, we bring in Eon and LifeWave if there's lots of pain. But it was really interesting talking to him. And then I think it was Philip and Justine. They came on board 2.5 weeks before the incentive closed. And in 2.5 weeks, they joined and they built enough for both of them to go to Marrakesh. And that astounded me. That really, really did. And it was wonderful meeting Dr. Ali, you know, because I've dealt with her so much on the groups. So to meet her in person, and we were often at meals together, we've come back, as Liesel put, with everything's intentional. And you know, if I look at Liesel from the day they got back, that day, her husband contacted 4 people like that. And I've done the same thing. I've been contacting people in the team, and I haven't got through everyone yet. But we build more intentionally. And the teams grow from event to event to event. But honestly, it was a marvelous experience. So everyone listening here, build, build, build. Help your team to upgrade. You upgrade. Throw all your energy into it. It's a well worth holiday, and you are spoiled beyond anything that George and I can tell you. Completely and utterly spoiled.
So how many incentive trips do you intend to miss in the next years?
I'm going on every one. That's what we're doing.
They're doing twice a year, 2 trips a year. So we will see, besides, and there will be an official opening of South Africa. We don't know the date yet, so that was something that was repeated, probably in early June, because they were thinking a different date with school holidays in South Africa or something. They had to adjust it, but all of those things are being approved this week, so we'll have more clarity. So I will get to see you probably 3 times this year.
Good stuff.
Super exciting. So Bridget was in
Dallas.
Why don't you add something, your thoughts, Bridget? And I could add for everybody. So we were in the event took place in a massive hotel called the Anatole, and you walk about 5 kilometers at least around that hotel every day to get to the conference room and to get to where the food is and so on and so forth. And there was one evening where there was about a 2.5-hour break between the end of the session and David. He'd arranged on the first night the Blues Brothers, so I don't know, some of you may know them, and that was amazing. And he arranged 2 bands on the last night, which I'd never heard of, but my daughter was not the real ones, Maroon 5 and somebody called, what was she called? Gwen.
Stefani,
that's it. I'd never heard of them, but my daughter's not the real ones. They couldn't have been the real ones. Yes, they were the real ones. No, but they couldn't have been the real ones. They were the real ones. Yeah. So people were knocked out with that. But in between, there was about a 2.5-hour break. And so I found myself, I'd invited a friend who's in my Mexican team to stay. And she comes to change. She walks into the room and there's like 11 people in my room spread out over the sofa, over the beds. I said, we're having a hippie party while we all had a break. And that was great fun. So, Bridget, give us a little bit on Dallas. And I hope I'm going to see you in Dubrovnik.
Yes, that's definitely the plan, George. Dubrovnik's on the cards.
Super.
And like Sandy said, we don't want to miss any after we've got started on all of these trips, because they are amazing. And yeah, as I say, I really stretched myself to get to Dallas. You know, it's quite an expense for South Africa and the rands and cents that goes with it. And I said, I don't care, I'm going, come hell or high water. And I made a plan. And it was, you know, just to even go with Sandy was so special, being my enroller and upline, and she really supports me, and blessed to be in her team. And at the event as well, you know, the besides the exhibition and the stuff that they rolled out for us there, we had this whole separate room. And because there were so many people, we actually had 2 big conference halls. They split us into 2 different rooms. From start to finish, everything just ran smoothly. I thought, oh my word, 6,500 people, how are we going to get ourselves registered? Well, we got there, and within a few minutes, it was all done. I had my little name tag. I had all my little bits and accessories. It was bomb, bomb, bomb done. So there was never a moment where there was even a glitch.
Yeah.
So what was the main for you, having been there and then going back home? What was the change for you towards LifeWave and what we're doing here from having gone there?
Well, again, every single person on this planet and my team have to experience at least a corporate event. You have to get to a corporate event. It's not like, well, I'll skip this one or do that one. I say the corporate event for me is a must do. And being there with all the people that we see on the, the Zoom meetings, seeing them live on stage, and even talking to our top leadership. I mean, I got to meet Steve and Gina Merritt in person.
Yeah.
We even got to see the water machine, just happened to be in the right place. And George said, come to see the water machine, So if I hadn't been there, I wouldn't have been seeing Steve and Gina Merritt and giving them hugs and them giving me hugs, and then moving on to Saeed and Mike as well, and then Olga, all of the.
So you just said something really key here. I used a word which I picked up off somebody. I was at an event in London. They asked who you are, and I said I'm George from Mallorca, which is how I would describe myself on Zoom calls or webinars in those days. And the guy sitting next to me said, I've heard you lots of times. And we'd never met in person, but he invented the word de-virtualizing, because we're meeting in virtual worlds. And by de-virtualizing, this gives a lot more power to what we're doing. So, in terms of, sorry, do continue.
No, so at the end of the conference, and besides taking notes and seeing all these countries that are just growing and growing and growing, I said, well, South Africa's growing too, and we're going to grow even faster after being to that conference, I'm sure. I actually got on the phone and I was speaking to some of my downline, and 3 of them booked tickets on the Sunday as well. So they're coming to California next year. They said, no, we watched this. We have to be there.
Yeah.
My husband has never watched a meeting. My husband sat on that whole conference the whole weekend, and he watched the meeting.
Yeah, he did.
It was like, he said, I saw this and I saw that, and this is fantastic, and this and this and this. And I said, you've been watching the meeting? He said, yes.
I love it.
Yeah.
So look, we have somebody on the call who's not from South Africa, Corinne Mandon. She is via a South African team. She's in the south of Spain. Corinne, if you can unmute, I would like Corinne to talk. Hi there, how are you? Nice to see you. So Corinne, she decided she was going to come to the Lisbon corporate event. There were 480 people there, and 2 from my team, Warren and Corinne, came to Lisbon. The first thing we did was we met for dinner and had a great dinner. And then they lived that event, and I'd like you to talk about that. And then Corinne decided she's been to other events in France because she's a French speaker, has a French team. So guys, if you've got French people, we do have a French group. So just so that you know in passing.
You can join in. Mm-hmm.
And then she came to London, and we had a dinner in London before the event, which was a 2-day event also in London. And Corinne, we had dinner with Dr. Ali, with Chris and Lucinda, with Diana,
Dr. Olifemi,
Thailand, and other people. So you tell me, I'd love you to talk about what Lisbon did for you, and then the time in between Lisbon and London, and what London did for you, because this is a process from event to event, whether it's an incentive trip event or a cooperative event. I'd love you to talk about that.
Okay, yeah, no problem. Yes, this is my first year. I started in February, and then this year I've done 4 forum, I would say, conference. The first one was in Lisbon. I think it was in April, I remember. And for me, Portugal showed me but a great teamwork, amazing teamwork, and solidaire all together. They were clapping and happy for each other, for the success of each other. And that really touched me to see wherever team you are, all you want is to make LifeWave known and famous, yes, and successful for helping each other and helping people, and at the same time as you help your bank account. as you always said this, George. The commissions, the amount of your commission of your bank account is the amount of people you're helping. So the Portuguese really understood this, and so it was a great event. It was my first one, and it really was very impactful, I have to say. And Gina and Steve and Gina was there, very approachable, great guys. I've talked to Gina. It was really, really, really nice. Really nice. And then you get to know other people. So that was a really good introduction for me from April. And then in May was Mallorca.
Oh, I forgot Mallorca.
Yeah, I went to Mallorca, and Onyx Cole was there. She's awesome, this woman. She's also very inspiring for me, and she gave us some great tips, and so approachable, so simple. So this is what touched me. Those people are very, well, the one that I had the privilege to meet as SPD, successful SPD, let's just put it this way. Very nice, very happy to help. That is something that really also touched me. And then in the July in Nice, we were a smaller group. France needs to grow.
Wake up.
We had more Romanian than we had almost French, but it was also very good to connect with some other French team, which for me is very important because we are 60 million in France, and I want LifeWave to be as big as possible for the French people who also needs very much also, like, you know, all the countries help when it comes to the health system, national health system. And then my last one was in September in London. We were about over 200. It was a really also good one.
280 people.
Yeah, almost 300. And you were there, and Dr. Stacy was there, Dr. Olufemi, Dr. Ali, which we were, and that Friday night we went to eat together. And also this beautiful couple, I have to say, because I met them in person, Chris and Belinda. Lucinda, pardon. Chris, I can never say his name. Atkin. Apology. So great couple. They, I don't know, really felt connected with them. They did all this way to South Africa, and they gave us great insight, great tips, great sharing experience. So everything, all of them are rich. I'm so pleased that I went to those events. I wish I went to Dallas. Unfortunately, I didn't. But I've booked my ticket for next year. So, I mean, there's going to be more in Europe next year, and I look forward to have some other great network. I would say also it's also a network event when it comes to LifeWave and connection and hearing tips. It's a boost. It's a boost. It really, and also very, very warm to my heart. So yeah, I love it.
Thank you. So I see that Dr. Ali came on the call, and Dr. Ali was at the corporate events in London. What we've been talking about, Ali, is what the events and going from event to how that affected you. So if you could, I'd love you to talk about how the going to the corporate events in London. There were 2 you've been to, between the first and the second, and what that brought to you, and then about Marrakesh and what that also brought to you, and what it's done for your perspective for the future for LifeWave. So, floor is yours.
Oh goodness, that's a lot of stuff to talk about. So yes, so I've been to 3 events in London, but 2 of them were corporate ones. So there's one where This Is It team came to London September last year. Then there was a corporate one in February this year, and a corporate one in September this year. And it's very important to attend events in person as much as you can. I've always done that. It's part of how I've done network marketing, because if you don't rekindle your belief in network marketing and the company, then you will fall by the wayside. And the easiest way to rekindle that belief is to go to events. And that's where you're so lucky in South Africa to have Chris and Lucinda setting up these business events that they've already done 2. They've got another one in December. So really important to get to that if there's any way you can, because there's no visa problems for you then. So in going from February to September, I don't really know how to answer that question about how things have changed for me in that time. No, I really don't know how to answer that. I just say you need to be at events. I find it difficult to motivate my team to go to events. And I guess we've just got to keep trying, because we know that people will be less successful if they don't come to these events.
So then the September event in London I'm figuring was more powerful for you than the February event. And if that was the case, why would it be? I know we had that dinner and you met Chris and Lucinda.
I think the fact that you had that dinner the night before and I went up for that, even though I was going back down again to Brighton, Lewis, where I live on the south coast. But also the fact that Chris and Lucinda were there. Dr. Stacey's son, Trey, was there as the youngest at the actual event, as the youngest SPD ever at 19, because he'd been learning the business all the time through his teens. He was ready to go SPD as soon as he could. And that was incredibly powerful, because and I took lots of videos of them in the hope that it would persuade my own kids, but no such luck. But at least it means I've got some videos to share with younger people when I'm talking to younger people about this business, because younger people need to be aware of this too. They need to see the truth that being an employee is not the way to build your life, especially with these 0 hours contracts that everybody is being given in hospitality and other areas where they have no rights, they have no sick pay. We need to help people to see that being an entrepreneur is it's scary if you're doing it alone, and network marketing allows you to not do it alone. You've got a community, you've got resources, you've got a product, you've got legal support, you've got customer support, and you've got a low investment. We all know that. It's so important for all generations to see this. And you can build a business when you are 72, you can build a business when you are 22. As Sandy will tell you. Nice to see you, Sandy.
Yeah.
Hi.
Lovely
We're sitting
meeting
next
you.
to each other about 2 days ago.
Yeah, exactly. It was really good.
Amazing.
So tell us about what the Marrakesh trip did for you. I mean, I would add this. We built a lot of alliances in Marrakesh. You know, Sandy, I introduced her personally to Alexandra from Romania. They are probably going to do a call both ways. I think Alison made more alliances. But tell us, Alison, what the Marrakesh trip did for you in terms of getting to love LifeWave more, and in terms of meeting people from other teams and getting to know people in the 333 more deeply.
Okay, I do have a couple of other things to say about London. Firstly, that I had a long chat to Brian Penrod, who is a diamond director in my other network marketing company, and he has joined LifeWave, not under me, sadly, but there you go, it's how it is. And I had a meal with him and my ex-USANA team, who are not again under me, but they're under him, and it was amazing hearing him talk about it really blew my mind. He talked about a high earner in my other network marketing company when he first had him. They were having a meeting together or something, and this person had a list of 100 people a day that he was contacting.
Wow.
100 people a day, and he
Wow.
became the top earner in USANA And it just blew my mind that actually you can do that much work. You don't need to with LifeWave because the system is so good, the business is so good, so you don't need to. But if you just reflect that people are doing that much work, then it makes us do a little bit more than 3 a day, or at least do that three a day. You know, we need to remember we do need to do the work. Okay, and yeah, and it was great to talk to Dr. Stacey, etc. So with Marrakesh, it was amazing that George had very kindly organized 3 days at an oasis that he was pivotal in its creation as a resort many years ago, and he has supported the people who set it up ever since. Not many years ago, 5 years ago or something, but it was just
20 years ago.
It was 20 years ago. Okay, so I was right first time. If it's 20 years ago and he only had the loan of it for 20 years, is he having to give it up, or is he renewed?
No, he renews the contract every 2 or 3 years.
Oh, very sensible.
Rented it for 20 years, and on year 3 he didn't have the fruit of the trees, so then he redid the contract for including the fruit of the trees. So every 4 or 5 years he does something else. Yeah. And then the owner's really happy too, because the owner of the land, he gets some more money coming in.
Yeah, he gets a lot more money than he would otherwise. So it was mind-blowing. I've never been to a VIP experience. So first of all, the Oasis, 3 days, 3-4 days in this Oasis where there's no electricity except for a little bit of electricity to charge your phones, not very fast. So you can charge your phones. There is a little bit of internet. So David Prosser was able to do his TikTok videos every day. But it was a dark cabin. It was candlelight and paraffin lamps. It was beautiful. It was amazing. It was such an amazing experience. And to just rub shoulders with and have conversations with, and this continued into the corporate events, which I'll come to in a minute, but have these conversations in, and even just be a fly on the wall on these conversations about how these top leaders from all over Europe and South Africa are doing their business, whether it's Merle and Des, whether it's Andre and his wife, who doesn't speak English, in Poland. They were actually in the same cabin as me. They were in the next room to me and Caroline. So and we were just next to also George. So it was just incredible to listen to these conversations and to be able to contribute. So I've just sent Alexandra from Romania a video explaining how to find the GPT in ChatGPT that's trained in LifeWave, so it can help you write your Facebook posts, etc., your social media posts. So I was even able to contribute to these amazing earners just as they were giving me tips. You know, Dave Hompers spent a lot of time with me just explaining how he is building up. You know, he was doing these videos for one of his Facebook groups is specifically for people who are looking at LifeWave as customers, and I listened to him as he did his videos, and he was saying, if any of you, if you have any inkling that you might want to be an entrepreneur, then come and, then message me. And it's really good to hear the words that other people are using, as well as the techniques that other people are using. Listening to Andre one evening, we were all sitting around with the fires. So with a sort of in a tent, having our meal, and after the meal we sort of stayed talking for a long time in a classic George sort of a way. And Andre was talking about how he built his business in Poland because his English is great. So there was so much there, as well as the opportunity to go camel riding, which is something that I've always wanted to do, and it was really great. I've been on a camel before, and at the time it did my back in, but this time it absolutely didn't. Just being able, as you walk down from the car park down into the oasis, you're suddenly surrounded by birdsong where it was completely quiet before. It's fascinating as a bird watcher and naturalist, And then from there we went into Marrakesh itself. So the oasis is outside Marrakesh, obviously. Then we went into Marrakesh itself. George very kindly took me and some of the Polish group out for a meal, which was amazing.
Romania.
Romanian group, so some of the Romanian group, and it was really nice to get to know them well. I've sent one of them a video I made of her dancing with Adrian from the UK because you know, and it's just really great connections that you're making. They're lifelong connections. We all know that the LifeWave community are so full of light and love. They are the sort of people we want to rub shoulders with. They don't complain. They are looking for the joy in everything. And they're the sort of people that we want to be amongst. And remember, you are there's the camel riding. Remember that you are the product of the 5 people you spend most time with. So the more you get to these things and you're rubbing shoulders with people who are earning more than you and have better systems than you, then you will be able to grow and grow and grow. Okay. When we went to Marrakesh itself, I was really shocked because we had 5-star treatment. We had amazing meals every night. We had, oh, thank you. I didn't get a nice picture like that. You'll have to send it to me. I only got one that the Hamir took that had me just in from the front, and I was looking the wrong way, you know, so that's great. Yeah. So once we were in Marrakesh, we were wined and dined. Every time we went back to our room, there was every evening we went back to our rooms, we were given another gift. So we were given a scarf, we were given a sleeve of Silent Nights, a sleeve of energy enhancer to give us more energy when we're going around the markets, the souks, and we went on a jeep safari. And when you look at them doing a jeep safari for about 180 people.
Yeah, it's 50 four-wheel drives.
50 four-wheel drives. How much that must have cost. And that was only one of the treats. And then these meals with alcohol or non-alcohol, whichever you wanted, flowing, you know. And on the Saturday, we went and experienced the Stooks and the garden that I really wanted to see, which is the Yves Saint Laurent garden. I really wanted to see that. When I looked at Marrakesh, that was the one thing I wanted to see, but I didn't think I'd be able to because it's miles outside of Marrakesh. And I was able to see it. It was great. So lucky. And then each evening we had a different meal. I mean, the evening experiences, I mean, the Saturday night blew my mind and left me speechless, because LifeWave being all about light, to remind us that LifeWave is all about light, they had us going to another sort of place. I think it's sort of I can't think of the word I'm trying to think of, but there you go. Another place outside of Marrakesh, in the next village, but it was a really posh, really high-end place, like a sports place. I can't remember the word I'm trying to think.
It was called the Beldy Country Club.
Country club was the phrase I was looking for. So it was a country club, and when we arrived, there were musicians playing, and as we went through this archway, suddenly we were surrounded by about 1,000, 2,000 tea lights hanging at different heights around this garden, like that. It was astronomical. It was so moving, it left me speechless. And then we had dancing, and and they had a whole row of gluten-free stuff, which is very unusual, I can tell you. George at the Oasis treated us to an amazing meal in a great big giant greenhouse. But the relationships you create, like I have with Sandy now and with Merle, the relationships you create, the conversations you are, lovely. Yeah, incredible. The conversations you are able to eavesdrop on, they are business changing, they are life changing, and they are something that I never want to miss. And you, as Merle said, you create such strong relationships. You feel, right, I've got to get to Dubrovnik in Croatia in May, which means I've got to hustle until the 23rd of February, because I don't want to miss the opportunity for this. Often when you are learning about entrepreneurialism and business and money mindset, you're told to visualize and experience VIP treatment if you want to attract VIP clients. And I hadn't realized truly that I'd never had a VIP experience until this last week in Marrakesh. I'd never had that. It was amazing, and it's completely up-leveled my aspirations, my concept of what is possible for me and for my team, and much more. I expect I've talked enough, George, but I could talk some more if you wanted me to.
I love it. I mean, look, it's been very, I'm going to add one thing. So Ali said to me in London, at the end of the London event, she said, when she knew she was going to be able to be on the Marrakesh event, she said, this is the first time I've really hustled. So she said that was the first time she'd really hustled to get something happening, was to get to Marrakesh, to get enough points. So I said to her, from now on, really hustle, because when you really hustle, you will get your life back in your own hands. You know, she has to continue working in something that she loves, but she doesn't really want to be doing in the way that she's doing. So, you know, this is the, would you want to address that a little bit, and then we'll go to the questions and answers I'm sure people have. I'm hoping there's a few.
Thank you, Bayanda. I need to do more Facebook Lives and videos so that excitement comes through. I'm always hiding behind my computer. I need to do more live events like Chris and Lucinda have set up.
But did you hear what I said?
Sorry.
I said that in the event in London, you said to me this was the first time you'd really hustled.
Yes, about the hustling.
And as you left the event, I said, now hustle from now on if you want to be, so like this you can get your life back in your own hands, because you do something you love as a doctor, but you're also having to give too much of your time in a way that's not pleasing you, without going into, you know, details of your life. But this bit about hustling now, why don't you address that a little bit?
So in order to get to this incentive trip, I was surprised that I had more than half of the points. And the reason I had was because I had chosen to reach out to and follow up to a lot of doctors in some groups that I'm in, who are talking about things like sleep and melatonin supplements, for example, or neuropathic pain, you know, everything, or ADHD, every time something like this came up, I'd reach out to them. And I ended up where I've probably got about 30 or 40 doctors, private doctors in my team, which means some of them are buying the, as it was then, diamond pack, as it is now, premium pack. And this is what got me so that by the time we were like 8 weeks before the deadline, I had more than half of the points. I was thinking, oh, good grief. It's almost as if this is possible for me, you know, and it's never been possible for me before. I've never seen it as possible for me. And so I just started upping the ante and reaching out to people, and I reached out to everybody in my team. I asked them if they were ready to upgrade from silver to gold, from gold to platinum, from platinum to diamond, asking if they needed any help getting some more people into their business so they could become manager too, and making sure that I never missed manager. And I was doing this constantly and keeping an eye on my team, which I hadn't been before. And keeping an eye on and supporting my team, which I do support my team, but I don't actually keep an eye and see who's fallen by the wayside, who's dropped their auto order. And it was all about spotting when people are dropping their auto order, reaching out to people, showing them what's possible. And that I hadn't really done before. Is that what you were angling at?
Yes. Yes. So you're going to be hustling. It does things. I don't know. Sometimes
it's funny how it does that.
Anyways, so let me ask anybody, number one, you can put in the chat if this has been useful, listening to these things that everybody is saying, and then I love questions. So I'm going to just write something down here, which I must. And then I'm going to go and look at the chat and see. But for questions, just press the button for raising your hand. And on my pen. There's always the weird one. I don't know if it happens to you, but every time I pick up a pen, it's the one that doesn't work.
Of course. So, Margaret, whereabouts are you living? You can unmute yourself.
Holgate.
Oh no, seriously?
Yes.
Oh, there you go. Well, I often do locums in Hailsham and Polegate. I was a partner in my GP practice for 17 years in Hailsham until I just handed in my notice when they disciplined me for recommending probiotics to patients. I just couldn't take it anymore.
Yeah. Oh dear. Yeah. So it was so lovely to hear that when you mentioned Lewis. I thought it's just up the road. It's
Yeah.
wonderful. Lovely. Lovely.
Yeah.
Yeah. Oh, that's lovely. Yeah. That's
Yeah.
thank you.
So, Margaret, are you in the UK 333 group?
Yes, I listened to the 3-3 group.
Yep.
And the other one.
There's a
What's the other one?
specific WhatsApp group for UK members of the 333 team. Okay. So if you make sure you're on that,
Yeah.
I will look out for the link and share it here. So make sure you're on that, and then you'll be
Excellent.
connected to the UK people. All right.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
Yeah, I'm also in the UK.
Who's that?
It's Freeman.
Oh,
Hello,
hi.
Freeman.
How are you?
I'm good.
We're good.
Fine, thank you. Yeah, I'm in Crawley, just next to Gatwick Airport.
Okay, I've been there, been through there a lot.
Yeah, I did
I-
my pediatrics partly at Crawley Hospital.
Uh-huh.
I grew up in North London, but been through Gatwick Airport so many times. Alison is going to post the link. You're going to post the link here in the chat for the UK group. If you're in the UK, definitely click on that.
I'll do that.
Thank you. So, have you a question, Freeman, or something you would like to ask, share?
Well, just knowing, right, if I'm approaching doctors, because I'm new, but I've spoken to quite a number of doctors.
Okay, are you in the medical world?
No, I'm not.
Okay, so let me say this. Don't look for ill people, don't look for doctors, look for hungry people.
Okay.
Now, that might sound a little bit tough, and there's nothing wrong with having doctors in your organization, and it can be useful, but don't look to doctors to build. The vast majority of them won't build because they're concentrating on their profession of being doctors. And I will say this, I came back from America having spoken to doctors in America who asked me questions, and I said, you know what, I don't even understand the questions you're asking me. No chance I can answer them. I think I'm going to connect you with some of my doctors. And Dr. Ali, this is something that I would say, I'm not a great list maker. Make lists, but I never get to the end of my lists. But what I am very good at is paying attention to what my mind is telling me. So I wake up one morning and I think, Dr. Ali, I better talk to her about this. And we met 12 years ago at an event in London and kept in touch in the digital distance over Facebook, maybe every year or two, saying, hey, how are you? We'd been to several events together between 12 and 10 years ago. But if you'd asked me to write a list, she would have never got on that list because it's so far back in my memory. My mind told me, Ali. So, and that's in between waking up and getting out of bed. I usually give 5-10 minutes to kind of coalesce the things that are there. And I'm always say I'm in a big hurry, but I'm never in a hurry. So, hey, Ali, how are you? I thought of you. I want to tell you something. She gives me a thumbs up. Well, that looks positive. And then, nothing much. It's before Christmas. And about 2 weeks later, and I say, Ali, look, I'm sure you're probably busy. It's Christmas and I'm going away. Why don't we connect when I get back? And she another thumbs up. And then when I reach out one more time after I got back. No, I don't remember a response. But one Sunday morning, I'm sitting outside. I said to myself, this is a good time. And I say, hey, Ali. She says, how about now? And here we are, quite a bit of time later. So when I came back from the American meeting with the doctors that were at an event who'd asked me questions that I didn't even understand, I said, I'll connect you with some of my doctors. I said to Ali, I was thinking about making a group for doctors, and she said she was thinking the same. So he set up this group, and now, and I'll get to my point, now there's over 400 medical professionals, not only medical doctors, dentists, orthodontists, chiropractors, nutritionists, therapists of all sorts, and which is useful because you can always say to those people, we have a group. The only people who can be on that group have to be health professionals. But sorry, I lost my thread here. Yes. What I discovered, because Freeman, you were talking about doctors, they need just as much, if not more, guidance than regular folks, because they're in their doctor's paradigm. They're seeing medicine A, medicine B with medicine C will give this result. And what we're doing here with LifeWave is something completely different. It's not patch A plus patch B plus patch C will give result X. We need to understand that what we're doing here is a different way of thinking. What we're doing is we're setting the stage in the body for a particular body, because your body is not my body. Your body is not Alison's body. Alison's is not mine. We all come from different tribes. We've all got different DNA. We've all used and abused our bodies in different ways. So whereas you and I may have the same symptoms, we have to add one more thing. The pathway to those symptoms or the road to those symptoms may have been very different. So what we're doing here is by using the patches, we're setting the stage in our bodies for our bodies to heal themselves. But we're never going to know anything about whether it will in somebody's body or whether it won't in somebody's body and how long it'll take. I learned this in the beginning when a friend of mine, the first person I invited on my right leg, he had tinnitus, the ringing in the ears, severe tinnitus. And he called me the next day. He said it dropped in 2 hours and 20 minutes to half of what it was. And he said, it's the first time I've slept 7 hours in 40 years. I usually sleep 3 to 4 hours. I didn't know that about him. And he's like, I'm going to catch up with my sleep from now on. So, Chris, when I met Chris, when I said to myself and to my active working upline, there's this guy in South Africa, he's going to do this with me, but he doesn't yet know that. And I was on a Zoom call with him. Some of you have heard the story, but you haven't, about something else. And I said to him over the Zoom, you look like shit. And he says, thanks for the compliment. And I said, no, but I can help you. But it took 21 messages because he was back against the wall with his business life. COVID killed his business. 21 messages. And it was I'm always looking for the echo. I'm always looking for the echo from people. I'm not looking to make a sale. I'm not looking that somebody's going to sign up with me. First, I'm looking for the echo. So with him, nothing from those 21 messages. And I will add this, develop a thermostat in yourself of how much information you can give to somebody. With Chris, I said to myself, I can send him something every 2, 3 days, 4 days. And I send him sometimes an audio, sometimes a video, sometimes a bit of text. But I kept doing that over 3 weeks. And it was only when I sent him the video, an audio, he says it was 6 minutes and 41 seconds, I think that's what he said. When he heard me talk about my friend with the tinnitus, and he also heard me talk about Javi's son with autism, he said, wait a minute, George doesn't know my nephew's autistic. He doesn't know my girlfriend's got tinnitus. So there was an echo. He suddenly said, I want to know more. I said, scroll up. It was in the chat. So that's when I got his attention, but it was the echo that made him. So what am I saying here? In his case of Lucinda, who had tinnitus, it took 7.5 weeks in her body for her to notice the difference with tinnitus. We are always, as humans, excuse me, as humans, we have something usually that's the top of the list that we want to fix. Now, there's a lady in my Spanish group, she says to me, about what she's had for about 20 years. I forget what it was. Yeah. So she says to me, I've been using the patches for 2 weeks and I haven't noticed anything. And I said to her, because she's talking about this one thing she has, I said, well, we need a little bit of perspective here. 20 years, 2 weeks. 20 years, 2 weeks. And she went, oh, okay. I said, but you must have noticed something. She said, yeah, actually, I'm in a better mood. I said, okay, we're winning here. What else? She says, my knee doesn't hurt so much as I'm going up and down the stairs. So what I'm saying here is people are often only thinking about one thing, but they're not noticing the other things that are going on in their body, which is why it's really useful to use what's called the health tracker, which is under resources, marketing tools, X39 resources, somewhere in there. You can always put on the group for somebody to find you the health tracker. So that particular lady called me 5 months later. She said, you're not going to believe this. I go, what? She said, I have a tooth which had an abscess, pus coming out, and it's been scheduled to have the tooth taken out. And I go to have my gums looked at, and the gum specialist said, seems like there's no more pus. So she goes to her dentist, who takes an x-ray, and he says, I don't understand this. Your tooth is completely healed. This never happens. What are you doing? She said, patches. The guy bought a gold pack the next day for himself and his family. So back to your thing. Doctors, great, but don't go looking for doctors if it happens. But doctors need even more guidance than regular people. I don't know if Alison's still here, but I think she might have gone. She may have added something on that. Okay, hope that was a long answer to your question, but there's also I told a lot of stories in that. And guys, if you've listened to the stories, there was always a point in the stories, but I also underline all the points with stories. And this is how you reach people. So one of the things that Javi says is never make a point without telling a story, and never tell a story without making a point. So I hope that saying this out loud is useful for you guys.
Yes.
Okay, so has somebody else got a question? You can just unmute your mic or raise your hand. And if Freeman, you'd mute your mic again. Okay, I can see it's Raphael.
Yes. If I can ask you personally, since we met, you don't know how much you inspired me. But the question I usually had was, how long have you been doing this business? And how wide is your group now?
Okay, let me answer that several ways. Number one, I started on the 6th of October, 2022. And there's now over 14,000 people in my organization in 25 countries plus. So how wide is my group? I'm going to answer that in a different way. When I saw that video with David Schmidt that I saw, and I said, wow, if this is true, it's revolutionary, I want to try. I also said, I want to talk to somebody who's been in this business for a while. And thus I got to know Javi Solis, who some of you know. And I said, Javi, how long have you been in this business? He said, 4 months. I said, how many people in your organization? He said, 900. We weren't friends then. I just met him and I said, well, if this guy can have 900, I can have 1,000. There's 8 billion people in the world. And then I said to him, okay, Javi, how many people did you invite? He said 25. I said, okay. Now 25 became 900. How many people are really doing something? He said, sorry, I said, how many people are doing something? He said 12, 13. I said, okay. How many are really doing something? He said 5 to 6. I said, okay, this guy's telling me the truth. Pareto principle, 80-20 rule, 5 out of 25. That's 20%. The guy's telling me the truth. So how wide is my organization? The wonderful thing about LifeWave is because we're a binary structure, you can build as deep and you get the points from as deep as it goes. How wide? I've invited 72 people so far. How many people are really doing something? 5 to 6. What has it done for my money life? It's allowed me to renovate my whole house inside and out, throw away all the broken things, help my daughter to buy another car, take trips to go and develop my LifeWave business. You know, the what do you call it? The corporate incentive trips are all paid with the airline tickets as well, up to a certain amount. But I also was able to, my first trip was like, yes, it's a stretch, but I'm definitely going to the first trip of the This Is It team. And I went to Orlando afterwards. And it was kind of a stretch with the money, but it's now allowed me to, or I'm going to say it like this, for my whole life, I tried to put together and I've been successful with my businesses, but I've always worked at them. Worked. The word is worked. And I've manufactured garments in Indonesia. I've shipped containers of furniture, lorry loads of antiques. But I've always worked, humping, moving. I have never managed to put together a passive income. And for a long time, I was trying to put a passive income together of 5,000 euros a month. Well, with LifeWave, if you put your heart into this, and I didn't say your head, I said your heart. Get this from your head to your heart, take it to the world. You can pass that and take it as far as you want. The first thing, all right, I'll say this. And you were in the event in Johannesburg, yeah?
Oh, Rafael? No,
yeah.
In Dallas.
In Dallas, forgive me. So
yeah.
in Johannesburg, and I've done this in Lisbon, in England, and in Barcelona. And I asked the question, who here's got financial anxiety? Okay, some hands went up. I saw some hands went up. In South Africa and Spain, lots of hand goes up. In England, not so many. People don't want to admit it. I was figuring. Okay, so then I say, who here likes to help other people? Everybody puts their hand up. Different reaction. Then I say, who here hears people say, we like the health side of things, but not so much the money. And every time the room's kind of cracked up laughing. And then I say, okay, this is something that's kind of counterintuitive, but it's something I saw when I hit 1,000 people in my organization. I remember the stories from those people. I didn't know the whole 1,000, of course, but in those 1,000 people, there were some amazing stories. You know, my friend with the tinnitus, Chris's mother with fibromyalgia, Chris with his brain fog, Ingi with her trigeminal neuralgia, a lot of amazing stories in those 1,000 people. And I said to myself, and I could see the money landing in my wallet weekly. And I said to myself, you know what, go make a fortune, because the more money you make, the more people you're helping. So then what I say is, we need to understand that the money that LifeWave sends us is an expression of our success in helping other people. The money that LifeWave sends us is an expression of the success we have in helping other people. So then I say, so if you want to receive money from LifeWave, stand up, open your arms wide and feel it. And the whole room every time gets on their feet, and it changes people's view, because a lot of people, they got a funny attitude about money. I don't know why, but money allows you to, number one, lose your financial anxieties, and then number two, be creative. I watch a lady, she's somewhere in my third line. When she first came in, she's a pain and wound specialist in South Africa. She said, I want to make a home for prostituted girls, a refuge. And I watch her, because I see her money in the third line, and her money's growing every week, and it's now in 4 figures. In South Africa, that's a lot of money to have every week. And I hear that either her or her husband will be able to give up the job, their one job in the family. They'll be able to be one of them not working, as well as that dream is unfolding. So all sorts of amazing things unfold as you help people, because it's all about your success is my success is your success. So I don't know, I think, Bayanda, you could add something to what I've said here, to add to this answer. I'm putting you in the spot here, girl. So why don't you let me have your face on the video? I gave her a hard time to say, are you there, Bayanda? Yep. I gave Bayanda a bit of a hard I gave her a bit of a hard time when I was in Johannesburg. Say, get into action, girl. Okay. What you going to add to what I just said?
Oh my gosh, you're going to give me LifeWave insomnia all over again. Every time I feel like giving up, it is not easy. But you know what? I believe it's going to be worth it. Okay, I've got a 9 to 5. It takes a lot of my time. 3 kids, one of them is laying on my chest because he will not go to sleep without mommy. But I'm telling you, George, every time I hear you, you are Papa George. I know you don't like it, but I'm telling you, it's going to happen. One day, that switch is going to flip. And I've got Ilza in Cape Town, who is holding me accountable. We're holding each other accountable. But I can't wait to get on that stage with the South African flag and go, we did it. Because this is a business you cannot do alone.
I love it. Love it. Thank you so much.
Yeah.
So, Raphael,
why I'm asking this, George, is because most of us are not old in this business. We hear something like you get 25,000 a week, 25,000 a week. Sometimes we don't believe that,
Yeah, no, it's true. I mean, don't want to scare people, but if you put your mind to it and you want to, and you work this every day and you take it from your head to your heart, and if that's something you want, not everybody wants that. You can do it. I know people who've done it. A lot of people, $1,000 a week, $2,000 a week, $3,000 a week changes their lives. It certainly did mine. I'm now, I've paid all my debts off. I borrowed money off a friend. I had money, my credit cards were to the limit. 10,000 euros on my credit cards at 20 whatever % interest rate. They're paid off. My friends who helped me, I've got one more person I still have a bit of amount to give, but that'll be done by the end of the year. This is totally possible, but you have to then decide what is your number. And again, I say this, you need to have persistence and consistency. You need to be consistent. The balloons came. I don't know how I made the balloons to come that time. You need to be persistent and consistent. You need to have patience. You need to have passion. You can hear I got passion. I have a lot of patience. People who tell me they don't have patience, I say we can work on that. Yeah. In between the two, you need the desire and willingness to learn. I have a person who has no desire and willingness to learn, or willingness. She says to me she should be making 10,000 a month. She's making 1,200 because every time she says something, I say, why don't you try this? oh, I've been doing network for 30 years. And I think to myself, why are you not a multimillionaire if you've been doing network for 30 years? But she's not, because she won't learn. You need that desire, willing, stubbornness. But besides all of that, you need to have made the decision, I am going to do this. So you, Raphael, have you made that decision? Have you said, I'm going to do this? See, I'm messing with you, okay? So
this is why I'm here, man. You remember?
Yeah, I know, but
I'm not looking back.
Okay, so let me ask you a question.
Dallas was everything to me, you know. I'm a witness of that session, which made me to be a crew. This is why you hear Freeman sitting there talking. I'm just easy.
Cool.
My team, we are just focusing and moving.
Okay, so let me ask you a question, serious question. What is your first number? I put mini goals. When I do something, I have mini goals. My first mini goal was 1,000 a week, 1,000 euros a week. That was a mini goal. Then I keep going, making new mini goals. One of my mini goals was 1,000 people in my downline. Another one was 5,000 people. Another one was, so every time I hit a mini goal, I give myself a present. It's kind of carrot and stick, bribe yourself. Okay, I had a mini goal that I said, you know, when I hit that one, I'm going to buy myself a 200 euro bottle of brandy. I'm not really a drinker, but I do like brandy in a cold winter evening. So I'd never had a 200 euro bottle, but I go, okay, you hit that goal, you deserve that present. So, you know, it works. When I gave up tobacco, I said, okay, week 1, you don't smoke tobacco, you can buy this. Week 2, you can buy that. Week 4, you can get that. You know, maybe that thought is useful to you, but what is your number? What is your first number?
My first number is 1,000 a week. That's
Okay.
what I'm getting.
So that's with that number, right? Then you can develop a strategy. What do I need to have 1,000 euros a week?
To make managers coming towards.
Okay, but you know,
me.
it's not you need to make 100 managers. 1,000 euros a week is 20 cycles, but it's also you opening your second line. So with some product introductory bonus and 20 cycles, it's, you know, it's not going to happen the first week, but you put your mind to it. You can do that in, put it this way, I did that in about 3 months.
3 months. Yeah, that's good.
Yeah. But it's like there's a trainer who you may have heard, or coach, called John Maxwell. He spoke in Orlando last year, and he's probably 78 or 80. And he comes down and he says, you know, I've got this tree, I need to cut it down. He said, but look at me. He says, look at me, I can't cut trees down. You know, he's 78 or 80 with a bit of a very sleek kind of belly, not svelte, a nice gentle curve. He says, I can't cut a tree down, but he says, I've got a very sharp axe. What I can do is I can go and hit that tree every day 5 times with the axe. Not all day, I can't hit the tree all day, but I can do it every day 5 times. And the people said to him, every day? Yes, every day. You mean every day? Every day. Need to do this every day. He says, but what I don't do is don't go to 20 different trees. I go to the same tree. So what I say is you need to be kind, helpful, and sometimes help everybody, and sometimes give a kick. So one of the people in my first line, after 10 months, and this is a kick, I said to her, 10 months, she wasn't listening, she wasn't learning, she knew better, she didn't pay attention. And I said to her, after 4 months, you invited 42 people, they became 115. With 10 months, sorry, 10 months. You invited 42 people, they became 115. I invited in 10 months 32 people, they became 1,850. Maybe there's something you can learn from it. So that was the first kick. A few months later, she called me and said, there's this other network. It deals with crypto and foreign exchange. And I said to her, I've got a friend who hunts rabbits. I asked him, can you hunt 2 rabbits at the same time? He laughed, fell over laughing. So I said to her, decide, or do that, or do this. but you won't, if you try and do both, you won't be successful. Focus. So she thought about it and she decided to focus for LifeWave. Now her LifeWave is growing. And she is a woman who needed her financial independence in her marriage because things were going wrong. And this has given her financial independence.
Yeah. Thank you. Thank you.
You're welcome.
I really appreciate that.
You're welcome. It's a long-winded answer, but there was a lot of stuff in there.
Yeah.
Thank you.
Yeah.
So, yeah, I wait to hear from you in 3 months. But listen, if you need some thoughts, reach out.
Yes.
Laurie, you've got your hand up. So, Laurie, would you be kind enough to unmute? Let's see your face and video, and unmute. And Raphael, if you hit your microphone, and then after Laurie, Graham.
I'm not sure if I feel like showing my face right now. I'll give it a bit tonight. But, however, I'm more than happy to talk. And I missed you in Joburg because I was fighting just not getting sick. And I had glutathione on, and I, for the first time in my life, never succumbed to bronchitis and everything, even though I'd been in contact with people with COVID and bronchitis and you name it over a period of 2 weeks before that. So anyway, but I assure you I will do it when I'm prepared to soon. So the question I have is, if you, I was very struck by the numbers of that people had when they're just promoting X39, because for me, I find it very exciting, some of the options that are available. And so it's almost like making you almost go in one straight line. But if you go in that one straight line, you'll go further. But if you're sitting going, well, okay, there's this amazing X49 which makes you feel stronger and grows your blood vessels and your skeleton and the Faraday cage and all these things. So for me, you know, I find it very hard not to talk about that. And if there's an athlete, it's kick in some energy enhancer. And if there's neuralgia, then it's a little bit of carnosine and eon. So I kind of had a bit of a thought about that. And I thought,
let me give you an answer. Hopefully this answer is useful. So we'll start here. A confused mind will always say no. So when you give people at the beginning who know nothing about LifeWave 10 different patches with 10 different options, they're like, what do I need to use? Which one? And they get confused and they can easily say no. So the American teams, what they've done is they've focused on X39 exclusively, and their growth has been, very, huge. However, that said, I understand what you're saying, but what happens is, and I've seen a lot of people do this, we're not doctors, or maybe you are, I'm certainly not. Alison is. But I've seen a lot of people try to turn into doctors. Use this, use that, use the other. Where shall I put it? Shall I put it on my, people tell me L5C7. I've got no idea what those things are. I have one lady, she's a top acupuncturist. She uses her acupuncture knowledge with the patches, but that's her profession. And she apparently, with one person putting a specific patch in a specific point, but we don't know this. We can just tell people very simply, use X39, see what it does, and then let them discover all the other products themselves as time goes by. But don't confuse them at the beginning, because then they go, I need to buy 5 patches. I don't have the money for that. Or really, which one should I be buying? Glutathione or this one or that one? That said, if they come in and they start using X39, they see the results, they're in their back office, they start getting on the calls, they start hear David talking every month, then naturally they will come to the other patches. So does that help? Do answer me. You've moved position somehow.
Yes, no, it does, and it'll probably change maybe the way I approach it, because it seems then important to try and get the first 3 months in terms of trying to get some results and keep it as simple as possible and then see what happens after.
Look, what Steve Merritt says. He says, I use X39 in the day and I use all the rest at night, but the one that's visible is X39. So I'm going to add something else. If you come across wealthy people, I saw him say this to a guy who was a billionaire. We may or may not bump into billionaires, but we may likely bump into wealthy people. He said, you know what? I don't think you're looking for another business, but why would you leave your stem cells dormant for $3.50 a day? And the guy went, oh, yeah, there's a point. Why would you leave your stem cells dormant for $3.50 a day? So this is and all of this is about posture. It's about, it's important to understand that we're doing people a favor telling them about LifeWave. They're not doing us a favor by deciding to buy the products. This is a really important thing. So, you know, everywhere people tell me, oh, people are skeptical here. I had that, people are skeptical in the south of Spain. I said, yeah, people are skeptical in England. People are skeptical in France. People are skeptical in South Africa. We hear this everywhere, but we have something to share that is so powerful that can help so many people all over, that we all know has helped many people. So to just end on that posture thing, I have a high-end Madrid family that's friends, and we had dinner in their house, and they said, so you're trying to sell us something? I said, I ain't selling you anything. You know, if you decide to buy, you're going to buy from LifeWave. What I'm doing is sharing something with you that you can take advantage of if you care to do so. And that was like, they were like, okay. Completely develop the attitude, some will, some won't, so what next? Some will, some won't, so what next? And when people come in, they're still, and you know, they come in, they're trying, and respect everybody's process. Some people in 10 seconds say, I want to go with this with the business. Other people take 10 months. Story today, very nice story. A lady, she signed up with me. She's a Spanish speaker. She called LifeWave, and they put her in touch with me because cat's going mad. He wants his dinner. And I saw her. She bought small products. She gave some to her friends, and I saw her on the Spanish calls. She was on a lot of the calls. She was contributing, asking good questions. Yesterday, she asked me a question about points, and I tried to understand. So we had a call today. The first time we were really getting to know each other as people, and she says to me, I'm an educator. That's nice. And I haven't been working for a year and a half because I have a thing with my back, and I'm kind of looking for what to do. But she's smiling the whole time. And she says, but I'm not a business. I've never done business in my life. I say, this is perfect. Yes, it's a business, but we're sharing something with people. And we went through all of that. And she was like, wow, totally different perspective on this. So, you know, I'll add this one. There's a family that got in touch, and they said their child had something called CL1, Batten's disease. If you see that, if you read about it, it's terrifying. It's horrible. And they said to me that the doctors said there's no hope. Will the patches help? I said, I've got no idea if the patches help, but you just said to me, the doctors have said no hope. So if it was my child, I would certainly be trying the patches. After a month, get in touch, and you know, they said, well, we're noticing things. We don't really want to talk about that, but the child is sleeping, and as a result, we're sleeping. The child was never sleeping, so they were never sleeping. So the fact that they can sleep is already huge, because it means they're making better decisions. Because when you live without sleep constantly, it's very hard to make decisions. Anyways, hope that all of that helps, Laurie. Graham has got his hand up, and I do have to go shortly. So, Graham, I think you're going to be the last question for today. Hopefully this is all useful. Please unmute. Oh, there you are. You are unmuted. Not hearing you for some reason. Not hearing you yet. Something with your machine. Not yet either. Oh, but put it in the chat. Put it in the chat, maybe, if it's a simple one. Cool. Well, thank you, Graham. And hopefully next time your what do you call it, audio will be working. He said, I think he wanted to say in public, thank you, shout out to his sponsor David and his upline Jace. Without them, he would not be here. Thank you. So thank you, guys. Okay, he got it into the public chat. I often make that mistake. So listen, guys, I hope that was useful. I love Q&A, and I love to inspire as much as I can. And as Chris says, stories sell, facts tell. So I'm better on stories than facts, so I can dig into facts if I have to. Okay. Thank you so much. I'm going to, you can, thank you. Cool, I love it. Thank you, David. Thank you, Margaret. Thank you, Corinne. And thank you, Robin and Julia and Irma. I see a heart there. I love it. And thank you, you got this. I'm glad you learned a lot, Zelda. My daughter's called Zelda. Okay, yes, I will save the recording. Chris will actually have it. I'll switch the recording off now. Thank you for reminding me. So I press the recording, stop the recording.